Hello and welcome to another one of my episodes or videos. Before I get into it, if I do have a competition going on, if I get to 1600 subs before the end of the 1st of March, I will give away an extra silver coin worth about £50. If you do like my content, you know how to support me by now. You can do it by liking, commenting and subscribing. So today I'm going to talk about why it isn't important that people know what I make per coin. There's been a few people say, yeah, but what did you make in terms of percentage and what do you make per coin? And please tell me you haven't paid above X, Y, Z, you know, and all of this is kind of noise. It really doesn't matter and it serves no purpose for me to really share it. So let's have a look. These are all stuff that I bought recently. Some of this I need to ship out. It is Sunday. But why it doesn't matter that I share it really doesn't help anyone. I know this is more a vlog these days. It's kind of a story of how I progress as a coin dealer, amongst other things. But to know the individual buy and sell price on absolutely everything is just, it doesn't make sense. And I'll give you some examples. So there was a gentleman recently, he commented on one of my videos and he said, I hope you didn't pay more than £18,000 for the sovereigns that I recently got in. I got in 60 sovereigns. These are some of them. Like I said, some of them need to go out. And I was thinking, what a weird thing to say. It doesn't really matter what I paid. It really doesn't matter what I paid for something or what I sold for it. What matters is, can I make the appropriate spread? Now, the bigger you go up the food chain, as I learned recently, the less in terms of margin you're going to be making, because if you get to the very top of this game, you're trading with other traders. It's just a case of someone wants stock, you need stock, can you make the spread? It's a risk-free play. When you're at the bottom of the food chain in terms of being a dealer, that's where you kind of get the juicy margins, but you don't really get a lot of stock in. You'll get enough to survive, but if you're paying 10% under on spot, the reality is you're only going to be able to buy from people who don't have price discovery, and they will be one or two people. It will be people who have kind of, they've had it for a long time, they just want to get rid of it, they're not really too bothered about checking around, they just go locally and they cash it in. And you get the type of people who they've kind of, they've received it in probate or it's being passed down to them and they've got no interest, they're happy to sell it for, they check around locally, but they're happy to sell it for something that they deem as fair. And 10% under for someone who's not really a stacker is probably not the worst thing, to be frank. But these dealers, they don't really get much bigger. They're constantly plagued by cash flow because they're trading, it's like feast and famine. I tend to position myself in the middle, but I know that the bigger I get, the less importance will be on maintaining the margin. I want to maintain the margin, but I'll be running a dual system of trading with the professionals and buying in from the public when I set my office up, and the margin will come down. It will. There's no chance that you can maintain the margin once you get to the upper echelons of this business, or of any business. There's very, very few companies out there who have super excessive profits. Very, very few, because what happens is the competition kind of eats away. You either have to come down to compete in price or you have to pay for advertisement, etc. So that's one reason why what I pay doesn't really matter. I was a bit dumbfounded by the gentleman who said, I hope you didn't pay more than this, because the reality is I do this for a living, and what I pay and what I sell for it doesn't really matter what my profit margin is. What matters is I pay the bills what I think is acceptable for me. It's not like I have shareholders at the moment. I actually paid more than he said, for the record, but it was a good payday for me. It's been a very kind month for me. Now, another reason why I don't really share it is because everything's so dynamic in this game. So, for example, these silver Brits. Let's say I bought for 19, which is just under spot. It's feasible. It is feasible. I didn't pay that, but it is feasible. I tend to be on the fairer end of the spectrum, so I have a lower spread because it works for me. I couldn't do that if I had an employee. You know, I'm working off my own back, and I can afford to have a lower spread. It does work for me. But say, for example, I bought this for 19, and I sold for 29. Again, that is feasible. That's £10. What I earn from it, it's not a fair representation. I aim for £100 a day, every day. Now, I don't know how long I'll be sitting onto these for. If I'm making £10 and I move them within the space of an hour, and it takes me 30 minutes to pack it and get it sent, that's probably an hour and a half my time, and I can make £250 profit. But that doesn't really take into account the days where I could be sitting on something for 8 months or 9 months or a year. It doesn't work that way. And to say what I make per individual coin, it varies. Like on the silver, if I can make 15%, yeah, great. Now, I've been discussing rolling it over into a limited company. The chances are, if I go to a limited company and I register for VAT, I will be making less of a margin due to the VAT and due to the market that I operate in. Now, that 15% might drop to 10%. So what I individually make on it, you can see that there's many factors that go into it. But if I can make £100 a day every day of the year, I'm happy. Some days I spend all day working, like today. All I've done is the accounts. I haven't earned a penny. Some days I can work an hour and make £500. So it doesn't work that way. With gold, realistically, I'll trade anything that I think is worth my time. So the margin can be super, super small. If, for example, someone says to me, I want 10 sovereigns, I'm going to go back to a trader, see if I can get it in for the price that he's willing to pay. That's okay. That's part and parcel of the business. So I can make next to nothing on the gold. I can make 10% plus on the specialty gold. That's where I want to be. But in terms of saying what I individually earn per coin or for the things I'm selling, it really is not a fair representation. It just isn't. And it serves no purpose because I've got other costs. When I say I want to make £100 a day, £3,000 profit in a month, that's not solely profit. I owe for my credit line. I've got an accountant, printer ink, my own time, all these individual things that people don't really account for. You have to really think about these things when setting up a business. And it's hard. It doesn't take into account the hours I work. When I started, I used to keep my eyes open with matchsticks. I worked myself into the ground. I'm only now in a position, maybe the last year or so, where I can make good money, and I can some days make it with relative ease. But it takes years. You have to build up the black book of contacts. You have to build your sales channels. Sometimes you have to build your media outlet, like I've done on YouTube. It takes a long time. And I know this is a video vlog, and I know that some people say, oh, you're like an open book. There's a third reason why I don't particularly share it, because sometimes sharing too much information, whilst the first two reasons are perfectly valid and fair, the third reason is sometimes I don't want my competition to know what I bought, because my competition will pay less, which means they can undercut me. They can come in and put me in a position that I don't particularly like. Now, I've managed to circumnavigate that because I run a stock book where I've got numismatic, semi-numi, and also bullion products. However, I don't want to be sowing the seeds for my own downfall. So if I said to someone, oh, I paid X for this, the reality is your Mr. Joe Blogs trader can come over and say, well, he's paid that. I'm going to make sure I can sell for less, so he's going to have a bad time with it. I've always got to think about these things. As much as I want to be an open book and I want to say, yeah, I can do this and I can do that, the reality is the market is so fast paced and there's so much competition within this market that there's some things I literally cannot share because it's a detriment to myself. And it's not a case of I don't want to be transparent, but you can't give away absolutely everything. And it's a real shame. I would love to turn around and say, well, I'm making this, I'm buying for this and I'm selling for that. The reality is I'm buying for a blended price and I'm selling for a blended price because it constantly moves. As long as I can try and make 15% on the silver, some silver I'll make 100% on. But that's if I've done my job as a trader properly. Some gold I'll make 10% on. Again, that's if I've done my job properly. I might even make 0.5% on it. I might even make a small loss on some bits. I hate to take a loss on silver. It's a sin because of how I trade. But in terms of gold, if I have to take a loss on something, that's part and parcel of trading. So I hope you kind of learned something from this video. This is why I don't really answer the questions on how much do you earn per thing. It serves no purpose. It's just a vanity claim. For those people who say, well, you should be paying this, that, and the other, the reality is it's not your business. I will pay what I deem I can make a profit and what's worthy of my time. If you want to make more, start a business, and try and make more. It's not a problem. I'll happily cheer you on from the side. But in terms of the comments where it's like, I hope you didn't do this, I hope you didn't do that. The reality is I take the risk and I take the reward. It doesn't matter what the opinion is on it, whether you think you can do it better or I've got something wrong. That's literally my job as a trader. So I hope you've learned something. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already.